Hello and welcome to Mostly Minnesota Music Podcast Edition. I'm Ann Tracy and I'm here with my co-host,
Heather Baker.
Yeah, and we are fortunate tonight to be talking to Quaery. And we have the two members with us. We've got Scott Christopher, and we've got Eric Shea. Welcome.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, we're excited. And you're about to put out your first EP in this iteration, but tell us a little bit about how you've played before, a little bit about the band. That'd be great.
Yeah, Eric and I go way back. I was doing the math. I think we've known each other for going on 12 years now. Does that sound right, Eric?
Oh my God, is that really that's the long time?
I think so. It's too long at this point. We went to college together, and we were in an indie folk group called the Paper Days together, and we sort of got our chops for writing and live playing and spent a number of years just hacking it out and learning the craft and having a lot of fun making music together. And, the collaboration has stayed alive as we've entered new chapters of our lives professionally and personally, and certainly musically. Our tastes and our interests have grown over these last 12 years, as you would hope. This new project, I love that we have, the history of our deep friendship and collaboration, but it's also, I think, reflective of where we are in life and what's of interest to us right now.
And you both play multiple instruments.
Yes. Yeah. We both are full-time music educators and I think have to wear a lot of hats on any given day. Eric is jumping between, drum set teacher and jazz band director and maybe leading a church choir every once in a while.
Out of necessity, though.
Eric is not the person to hire for that, but we wear that hat.
But I'll make
every
it
once in
happen
a while.
as best I can.
And I've been hired to teach a drum lesson every once in a while. So we wear many hats. But yeah, in Quaery, it's been really fun because we came from a 5-piece group before. Now it's just the two of us. So it's been really fun exploring how to make a lot of sounds with just two of us. And creating spaces and moments in all of our songs where each person gets to do something fun and show what they can do.
It is fun because each song, and there are 3 songs on the EP that's coming out. Each song is very different.
Yes.
I think, can I take off my coat? That might be one of my favorites, but because you've got sort of an experimental vibe underneath, all of a sudden these sounds come from. You've got sort of the electronic echo at the start of it, and I love that aspect of it.
Oh, thank you. It was really interesting putting these together because I think I had a little bit of anxiety at the start of the recording process that will these make sense as a cohesive release? And we did have that conversation, Eric and I, and with our producer, Matt Patrick, of does this make sense? And we all kind of agreed that there was enough glue there musically that we liked it. And certainly thematically, I feel
Absolutely.
these have an arc to them. Yeah.
I can say you guys had to be a dream for Matt Patrick because he brings out all these crazy instruments and you're like, I can do that one. I can do that one. I can do that one. Like, wow.
Yeah.
That was so fun working with him. I mean,
yeah.
we love all the crazy things that he does. And so I think it was a fun little, like playground almost for us to hang out in for a couple of days in the studio. That was great.
Playground is a great word for it. I think that's exactly what it was. We've known Matt Patrick at the library here in Minneapolis for almost as long as Eric and I have known each other. And he's a collaborator and a friend and a mentor. And when we brought these songs to him, they were really what I would call like simple folk progressions and a lot of folk elements in the lyrics and some of the melodies as well. And I was like, what can we do? I want to dress these up. I want them to have the bones of a folk song, but I don't want the clothes that they're wearing to have any folk elements to them.
Right.
And that was kind of, I think, how we started this collaboration with Matt. And it turned into something really, really cool. Like I love the way that he treated each of these 3 songs. And like you said, he likes to pull out the weird stuff. You know, he had like this toddler red toy piano that was completely broken. Like it doesn't make actual sounds anymore, but he plugged it into his, you know, infinite space echo machine and threw some overdrive on it. And somehow through the magic of, I don't know if he knows what it's going to sound like when he plugs it in, but it always sounds good. I don't know. He always does it with confidence. So I assume he knows what he's doing.
The work. I liked when I was listening into my headphones too, that a sound will go in the right and then you'll hear something in the left and it plays with it and it makes you like hone in more on the lyrics and kind of brings you just on the ride of the story a little bit more, I guess.
Yeah. He's such a master with knowing, you know, space is like sound is a 4-dimensional space, you know, and he's a master of knowing how to use all of those dimensions to give space where it's needed and to fill that space.
When I know you said you brought it like a folk song and wanted the instruments, did you have instruments in mind yourselves when you went there?
Certainly. Yeah.
No, we should do this, that, because it is super complicated, or sounds that way when you hear all of the instruments. It's just like, whoa.
Yeah. You know, it's interesting you mentioned that, because I think, you know, over the last couple of years, part of this collaboration with Eric and I is that we've kind of caught the bug for home recording and been having a lot of fun recording and using, you know, your digital audio workspace as a songwriting tool, which has been a delightful new chapter for us in writing. So we had written these songs and recorded our own versions of them and sent them as like, you know, mostly complete songs to Matt. And he's like, no, go back to step 1, send me a version that's just a piano and a guy singing, and let's build it from scratch, you know? And that led to, you know, what was the analogy? He said something about cooking. He said like, you've brought me a baked cake and like asked me how to make this better. Like show me
frosting on top.
Yeah.
Engraving of whose birthday it is, you know,
Yeah.
if you want to bake a cake here, you bring the ingredients, right?
Right. So we really stripped it back down. The only thing that I really knew going into this was that I wanted a lot more piano driven sounds, because that's where a lot of the writing for these songs started. So I wanted, you know, piano and other keys instruments to have a leading role in these sounds. And I think, you know, in 2 out of the 3 songs, very much the piano is the bedrock.
I was going to say it adds a level of delicateness to your vocals and more emotive feeling with the piano. And in my perspective, it just, I don't know, it's like soothing and peaceful. I don't know, it's beautiful.
Oh, thank you. I think, you know, I've had more experience playing guitar than piano. So for me, the journey about piano it almost wasn't about the sound of the piano, just something new to draw out new creativity and new products. Because you know, I think I've been playing guitar for over 20 years now. And it's, when you sit down to do something totally fresh on an instrument that you've been playing for 2/3 of your life, sometimes you can feel locked in. And I know for the keyboard, it was totally fresh and totally new, and everything was about creation. And I certainly know other artists here in Minneapolis that have had the opposite experience, going from like, I think about Mary Bew, who I think had the opposite experience. She had a lifetime of piano experience, and then she picked up the guitar, and that was totally new creativity for her, which I loved.
She kind of famously
Having
had
that-
a funeral for the keyboard at one
Yes,
point a couple
I
years
loved
ago.
that. Yeah. So I feel like I had a similar kind of opposite journey. I didn't burn any guitars.
Not yet, anyway. Not
Not
yet.
yet.
You just
The new
kind of have
toys are
to
fun.
Yeah.
crush one.
Oh, Yeah, I'll find one that I don't care too much about. It always
right.
feels a little, little sacrilegious, but maybe someday.
I think that's a big driving force from all of the sounds that are new and exciting to us, which is kind of interesting because I feel the same way because I've been a drummer for 20 years. But Scott and I exploring new instruments, I think, there's just something that you can unlock, creativity wise, when you have maybe like a less weathered approach to your instrument. Like, I've been playing these shapes on my guitar for 20 years. So I feel the same way about all of the new sounds that we put into this EP for sure, like including us singing, because we came from a very different style of singing when we were in that folk band together than what it is now.
Yeah.
I love the differences in your voices, I should say. They're really, I think, complement each other in the song, and they make each song very distinct.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, it's really fun singing with Eric. I love singing with people that I have a longstanding relationship with, because I think there's a certain amount of intuition. I mean, you think about like historically, my wife just was in a show about the Andrews sisters, and like historically, there's all these groups that are, the siblings grew up singing harmonies together. I feel like Eric and I have, maybe a quarter of that relationship with our decade plus together, but certainly there is kind of an understanding of how to match our voices to each other and how to do something different when that's needed.
Yeah, it felt like kind of getting back on the bike again, because we had, stopped playing in the Paper Days for a while, but we were always singing, and doing those like 4-part harmonies. So just the two of us, it's like, oh wow, like, it's like less gears on the bike. It's a little easier to ride, and it felt pretty natural, which is fun. But also, you're more in the spotlight when it's just 2 than 4. That's for sure.
Yes.
That does have to be different. I mean, all of a sudden you have to take more ownership. I mean, I'm just think of any team I've ever been on. All of a sudden you lose half the team. You gotta.
Yes. Yeah. I think, I don't know, there's a lot more space to fill in this duo. I always, I think we came into that maybe overdoing it, because one of the things that Matt coached us on early on was kind of drawing out. I think we overcompensated, coming from a group where we had 5 musicians all doing a lot of stuff always. We had literally banjos and accordions, and it was 5-part harmonies occasionally. There was a lot going on. So when it was just Eric and I at the beginning of this writing process, we would just throw the kitchen sink at each of these songs. And one of the best pieces of advice that Matt gave us was to just pull that back and not to overdo it. That like a duo is great. We love duos.
Sure. The old Chanel, get dressed up and then take one thing off.
Yes, for sure.
Yeah, very much. Yeah.
I want to ask about the thematic portion of this too. In fact, even by starting, what order should people listen to these songs in? Because I think you walk away with a different feel based on what order you listen to the songs in.
Yeah. Gosh. I hope that people will listen in the order that we put them out in. The theme of this album or EP for me is really about self-discovery, and finding significance and finding love in a time of crisis. I think the time of crisis is very, very apparent of yeah, when we began writing these songs, I was hoping that this would be a historical piece by the time that it came out.
Me too.
Yeah. But I do hope that there is, I do hope that there's some positivity and some hope, and some light moments for people in these songs.
I think
I
like,
was gonna say, in your song, It Would Always Be You, obviously that what you were talking about, it does talk about the elephant in the room that we want to be, but it has like this soothing spiritual feel also to it. It's like soothing, uplifting almost too, but it's, we're talking about what we
Yeah.
want to get away from or out of, or
Yeah. Yeah. I think that song is the most truthful song I've ever written and the most autobiographical song. I had a unique pandemic experience. So I lived in New York in the start of 2020. And in March 2020, I was sitting in my apartment watching the news with my then fiance. And I was just like, I don't want to be here. I don't want to be here for whatever comes. So we left and we lived in the North Woods of Wisconsin for the majority of 2020. And it was kind of a bizarre quarantine because we had a lot of space and there was this beauty around us. The nature and the space around us was so beautiful. And I had more time than I had ever had in my life with my partner. And we just got to know each other in such a deep and significant way that while this crisis was happening, I was finding love and peace at home while the world was just like on fire. And that really is where the song came from, was just trying to grapple with finding love and finding peace and joy, weirdly joy, in such a time of incredible crisis.
Well, I think the thing that everyone got out of the pandemic, whether they wanted to or not, was a little bit of like putting on the brakes on everything, right? And I think, I'm not trying to say that was a good thing, but if you're trying to, I always try to be optimistic, and I think having more time to slow down and think and be present is always a good thing. That it seems to be the thing that leaves first when things get busy, right? Being in the moment. So, it's a very, very unique experience of 2020 for you, right? Which ended up being, a good thing in the end, I think, right? Especially now that you're not in New York and you're back in Minnesota with me, right?
no pressure.
That was the best thing to come out of pandemic.
It was sad when you left, but I know you had to do it. But then, I think part of the theme of the EP is definitely that kind of return, right? The return journey for you.
Absolutely it was. Yeah
That changes my whole understanding of We Bought a Boat, assuming that these are related.
They are. Yeah in my mind they're related to me, and I hope people find their own associations with them. Certainly I think there's sort of this fictional through line between the songs that you could see a character going through the journey of each of the songs. I know for me personally what that journey was. And like Eric said, it is kind of a return and acceptance narrative. For me, it was about people and it was also about places. I returned to the Midwest in 2020. And a lot of writing these songs and thinking about this journey has been about reconnecting with people, reconnecting with Eric, reconnecting with family and friends here, beginning collaborations that had been left while I was living in New York.
but it's just, yeah, I liked the idea. There was a line about take me where my feet can't touch the ground.
Yeah.
And and then they go, oh yeah, that would be a boat. I just
Yeah.
I loved kind of thinking about that. Like that would be, yeah, that's the Midwestern answer to where my feet don't touch the ground, a boat.
On the
Yeah.
lake.
Yeah, on the
Yeah.
lake. On the lake.
Yeah. I love that song, and I'm really, really proud of the story that came out of that song, and the imagery with it. I always pictured it on a river. I don't, Eric, we should have connected on that beforehand. It's a river, not a lake.
Well, it's not the land of 10,000 rivers.
That's really funny. No, I mean, my association, because majority of my time in Minnesota has always been in the cities, and I always think about the Mississippi, and just how iconic and how central that is here. So when I think about these water odysseys around Minneapolis, it's always around the river. But yeah, I guess for most Minnesotans, it's a lake. I'll take it either way. Whatever people take it as, I want them to envision their own journey.
I always think it's the river. Because I walk down to the river from my house very often, but it's the water.
Yeah. There's something symbolic about it. Yeah.
Oh, sorry. I was gonna say I liked the line in there. She laughed so hard, you scared the birds, and you finally felt free, or finally feeling free, or something sort of like that. I love the whole, your lyrics they're so, yeah, like little mini movies in my head while I'm listening to all of your songs there. But I love that specific line in there.
Oh, thank you. I think that line was actually inspired by my dog, because he got off his leash at a park, and one bark and a whole flock of seagulls went flying, and I thought about that, and if that were a person, and it is an evocative image, so I had to make sure that it fits somewhere there in the rhyme scheme.
I love how you can turn something like that into the song and make it just so different. I don't know. I find it fascinating.
Thank you. Yeah. Oh, that one came very quickly. The images, like I said, I kind of envisioned this actual journey and two people that were on this rickety riverboat, going down the Mississippi, and all the weird things that would happen to them and all the things that they would see. And I also wanted it to have, a very definitive ending, that this is an odyssey, and there's a reason why we don't all give away all our belongings and live on a boat. Because it's tempting every once in a while.
What's interesting, and I wouldn't have picked this up until we were talking, is there is a line about trading in your wedding ring for a boat, which is that opens a sneaky door to a totally different reading of the song. Yeah. Which deepens it. That lets the person bring their own story to it. Yeah.
The song started from a very real place of, I was newly married, and my wife and I were deciding that we were going to live permanently in the Midwest, and maybe it meant buying a house, and to be newly married and sign a mortgage is a lot of significant commitments to throw out a person in 1 month. And I was so overjoyed and so happy. But every once in a while, you have those little thoughts of like, what if instead of spending all of our money, we just, ran away and did something crazy? What if we bought a van and went to the Grand Canyon? What if, who needs a house? We don't need to spend all that money. And I just chased down that little nugget of thinking and blew it up and tried to explore what that journey would look like. And of course, because I know personally that, for me and my partner, that would not work. We would be so unhappy in the end with that. I wanted to tie my own ending to that with the rainstorm and everything falling apart at the end.
And that just leaves with us. Can I take off my coat?
Yeah.
Coat. I'm looking at my own notes. I have a very unusual spelling of coat there. Yeah. Can you tell us a little bit about that too? Because that too, where there were a lot of feelings that didn't always gel together, very often contrasting in a rich way.
Yeah. That song, I loved writing that song. I think the concept for that song has been floating around in my head for a couple of years, but I never knew exactly how I was going to write it. I've always had this idea, I had a relationship earlier in my life where my ex went on to go and have crazy adventures afterwards and had this amazing, beautiful love story that she found where she was, like backpacking across multiple countries with this person. And it was just this from the outside. I have no idea what it was on the inside, but from the outside, a very, movie level romance. And I just had this thought that like, we very rarely get to know what the rest of a person's story is. And we very rarely get to know what our significance is in their personal story. And I was wrestling with that for years I think there's a song in there, but I don't know what the song is. And finally, I just started writing out all these questions. And I was like, I think that's it, just opening with, did it hurt when I left? Or did you quickly forget? And just having no metaphors or really abstract language, just really laying it out there seemed to be the avenue in.
I liked was I the headline or a footnote too?
Yeah.
Like,
Mm-hmm.
and I loved when you're like the door might be open, but your heart's still broken, and you have like a tapping sound. So my head created like shattering, you tap on the glass or you tap on the ice and then you get the little cracks.
Oh, I love that.
Oh
I
yeah,
love that.
did that with the sound. So, and it had all this like chaos sound towards the end of it too, and it's so beautiful. I love that.
It's certainly chaos is the right word for the end of that song. We let Matt go wild with that one. I don't think it was even a spoken thing, Eric. I think Matt just knew that had to get out of control at the end of that song.
Yeah, and man, that was the bridge section, I guess we'll call it, of that song really, I think, elevates the material of the lyrics. In my opinion, I think it really comes out of nowhere and almost hits you in the face. And that was definitely a Matt Patrick special. He put the special sauce in that recipe for sure.
Yeah, he has a great understanding of how to structure the arc of a song. Because that was one where we knew the bones of it were good. But he came in and made sort of, there's almost like, it's almost like a 3-part bridge. We have like a breakdown, then an honest to goodness bridge, and then whatever weird abstract thing comes after that, whatever we want to call that. And he was the one that suggested the breakdown and the abstracty bridge. All that we had when we came in was sort of the normal standard bridge section. And he's like, that's not going to get it to where it needs to go. Let's add these other pieces in.
that where the toy bell, whatever, came into play too? Is that sound?
Oh, the toy
that-
piano?
or piano?
No, I think the toy piano was on
You know
It
what?
Would Always Be You.
It's in there too, but there's a lot of in that bridge. It's like toy. I remember this. It's like the toy piano, kind of
What
doing
is
like a
on there?
bell tone thing, but it's a lot of vibraphone. We use my
Yes.
vibraphone for. I mean, even like there's a sub frequency, like a 808 frequency. That's the lowest pitch on the vibraphone, with the vibrato spinning as fast as possible that we had on the motor available, but then like pitched down like 15 octaves or whatever. And that's the kind of stuff that like, you know, you wouldn't think of it, but he said, you know, Eric, go in the booth and hit the lowest note you have, record it once. And that was the sub frequency when you get to that section, which is so crazy. Like that kind of ingenuity about, you know, we could have just sampled some other sub frequency, I'm sure, but it was fun to get it organically with the instruments available in the studio.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah, it's I need to listen to it again and again just to try to break it down after you guys have told us more, because I couldn't pick up all of the things, but I'm like, it's beautiful.
Oh, that's really great to hear. Yeah, I mean, that's all you want when you write a song, is that, you know, somebody goes that there's layers to this and that I could listen to it more than once. So thank you.
Yeah, it's really nice to hear that there's maybe like some Easter eggs kind of almost. You listen to it again and you're like, oh, I didn't hear that. Which is, you know, I enjoy that as a listener of other people's music, you know, being able to listen to it again and find something new, whether it's lyrically or compositionally.
I think even just in the, you know, I could only have listened to it so many times since I've had it with me. Even in the times that I've listened to it, every time there's something new to a song. I'm trying to think of, I think it was the second time that I listened to We Bought a Boat that I'm like, oh, wedding ring, what? Hold on. You know, just in the little sounds, and there's a lot there. People will get a lot out of it. It's good.
Oh, thank you.
We certainly hope so, you know.
Videos
Yes.
with it too.
Yeah, we're hoping, you know, we have some super secret plans for some videos coming out in the future. I think the only one that we're prepared to announce, because we have it, is we have a series of covers that we put out. So we'll have
the Billie
another
Eilish one that was it's fun to see the xylophones, and that I'm just it's fun to watch. It's fun to watch you play.
Oh, thank you.
It's less fun to play. I'm kidding. It's, you know, it's really fun to play, but you know, I always tell people, you know, playing vibraphones kind of like playing darts. Because you're hitting something with something else, but that comes with the territory. But I think it is a really cool visual, and I think, I don't know. I mean, Scott, you and I are probably a little biased. We like that timbre in our soundscapes. We use that several times with the Paper Days, right? I mean, it's a fun instrument to utilize for sure.
It is. And I think with that series, what's fun is, you know, it's more akin to a live setting where we're really trying to see what we can do with just two humans in a room at one time. And I'm excited to continue for the near future. That's the closest to live performance that we're going to get. So we're going to keep those coming.
Sure.
Yeah. We won't go down that road right now, but but it's good. But we enjoy having something. So, you know, some methadone to give us, but until we can see the live music.
Exactly.
Safely. So that's good.
And I really do love, I think, you know, one of the other silver linings is that people have gotten really creative. I've just been so impressed by my artist colleagues who have found ways to share their music and continue to stay engaged with people. There's more ways than getting us all packed into the 7th Street entry, as much as we miss that.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. It's been fun to hear all of the stories behind the songs. They're well told stories, but there's a whole backstory that just opens so many doors. It's so much fun. And I will put this in the notes, but where can people find you online? And tell us about the January 7th.
Yes, January 7th, our EP, Until the Sun Stopped Glowing, is coming out. It will be available to stream anywhere that you stream music. So you can find it on Spotify, Apple Music, Amazon, any place where music is streamed and consumed. So you can find it there by finding us Quaery, Quaery. And we also have a website, queryband.com. We like to, our primary social media platform is Instagram. So if you are on Instagram, Eric, what is our handle on Instagram?
It should be Query Band, just like
At Query
the
Band.
website.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
And of course, by extension, Facebook too, just because they're so integrated. So you can find us there too if you're still using Facebook. That's always a good way to catch up on what's going on.
Yes.
Nice. Well, folks will enjoy this. Folks will, and we thank you so much for sharing it with us, and thank you for your time tonight.
Thank you, guys. It's been such a pleasure chatting with you.
Yeah, it's been wonderful. Thank you.